Everybody, another vlog video from Michael from BM Project Solutions. Today we'll be going over the rise of the gig worker as per the blog I posted just the other day. And yes, seeing that we are still in the COVID-19 pandemic and a lot of waves coming in, we've got the third wave. Some countries are possibly experiencing the fourth wave. Others are not even on the fourth, maybe even moving into the fifth wave. So there's a lot to actually think about when it comes to employment and what is actually happening in and around ourselves and within our economies. So if you think of the gig worker and why we're saying the rise of the gig worker, you need to think of it in a sense that this is the gig economy, because right now a lot of people and a lot of businesses and business owners are going to be looking at a way to say, listen, how do we as a business save money on employing staff now, seeing that we've retrenched so many people? So now you have people in the world that are considered the gig economy. This means that they are freelancers or contractors. And the nice thing about employing people of this nature is that they are outsourced on their own. There are no unions that are binding them to your organization. So there's no involvement from unions that can come and pose a strike or down tools and so forth and demand higher salaries, because you have negotiated the terms and conditions directly with the employee themselves. So if you take an Uber driver as an example, think of them as freelancers, because they either accept the call to pick you up and drop you off where you are, because that's the money that they will make from that trip that they are taking you on, or they do not accept it. The other thing about an Uber driver is possibly that there's no clauses stating that there's medical aid that needs to be paid, and pensions and provident funds. All of this needs to come out of the gig worker's salary. So yes, there are pros and cons to being a gig worker and employing a gig worker. But the other thing is that what happens when the projects are completed? The gig worker now needs to make sure that he's got something else lined up to actually for the foreseeable future. So gig work can probably last 6 months to 12 months on contract. Thereafter, they're on their own. So you basically have no stable income. But being a gig worker, you can actually get a higher income for that short period of time, but there's no guarantee in that field. So if we look at gig workers in detail, is that it's technically like your side hustle, if you want to call it that. So we can put it as a side hustle for people that are also full-time employed. So you can do a part-time job, and that can be your gig work. And I mean, you can make up to 55% extra income on the side just for that, just by being for your side hustle or for being a gig worker or in the big gig economy. So you look at things like that, and you look at your work-life balance in terms of your career and your family. You'd actually end up spending more time with your family than working. But once again, how do you pay your mortgage? How do you pay your bonds? How do you pay your loan repayments or your credit cards, your debt, your vehicle installments, your insurance, your medical aid, your things like pension, provident fund, and all those types of things? So those are the things that we actually need to take care of. And it's all good and well to be a gig worker, but sometimes it's just a little bit harder for some, depending on the salary that obviously is offered and some minor benefits that may come with that opportunity as the gig worker. So why would an employee or an employer want to employ a gig worker? So first of all, it is cost effective. So that means the onboarding process doesn't cost the organization that much, because now you don't have to have a fixed desk for this person to sit. You don't have to have a possible laptop or telecommunication stuff set up just for this individual. It's basically all built into their contract. And obviously, if you had to pay them a rate, it's based on the working hours that they do work on site or on the project itself. So there you are saving money. So it's not a fixed salary that you can state. You can say, okay, you're going to work for 4 hours, but we're going to pay you $200 for that 4 hours, or per hour of that 4 hours. So at the end of the day, the individual ends up making $800 for the day, but they only come in twice a week. So in that 2 days that they are there, they need to ensure that all deadlines are met and so forth. So it actually saves you some money in the long run, because the person is not fully on your premises. your electricity bill is not that high, your telephone bills are not that high, your any other consumables in the office is not that high, like coffee, tea, toilet, lavatories, breaks, and stuff like that. And obviously, there's less risk in getting a gig worker on because there's no leave policies, like annual leave policies, sick leave policies. There are no physical long-term contracts in place. The only contract that is in place is to state that you have an obligation to do your work, and this is the time that this work needs to be done by, and this is the rate per hour that you will be paid, and you are required to work X amount of hours per week. So this saves the company money, but it also puts a lot of pressure on the gig worker themselves because they now need to perform and make sure that they meet those targets and actually provide the service, because this goes as recommendations to other companies that they will apply to. And these new employers will then look at these references and say, okay, fine, you've done a good job for company X. Let's bring you on to do another job for company Y. Or company X may still say, listen, we want to extend the contract for another 6 months because we have another project in the pipeline. And here are the additional benefits now in terms of maybe a salary increase, a little bit more hours. So you start building up a reputation for yourself as a gig worker. So, like I said, there's a lot of pros and cons for these types of things. So, what are the differences between a full-time employee and a gig worker? So, let's start off with a full-time employee, number one. So, with a full-time employee, the business has to actually take out a little bit more in terms of expenses. So, we've got the fact that they've got fixed income, right? And there's annual salary increases, there's annual salary bonuses and 13th checks and all those things that the business needs to take into consideration. Then there are obviously the benefits that need to come with this. So if it's cost to company, that means you need to work in medical aid for these individuals. You need to ensure that taxes are paid and UIF, so that if the person is retrenched, they have those benefits. Now, these are things that the gig worker does not have. And these are benefits that are very beneficial to any individual in this day and age, because medical aid is so important. However, as a gig worker, you could still afford to pay your medical aid, but this comes out of your own pocket and the money that they've paid you. So it doesn't become one of your benefits. It's actually something that you need to take out on yourself. Then, what happens with normal employees in the organization? I don't know if exploited is the term to use, which I feel could be the term to use, but if we use the term exploited, we just need to be very careful about that, because the employed individual may feel that during this time of this pandemic, or even before that, businesses have been reducing the amount of salary increases they've been giving individuals. They've been reducing the bonuses that some individuals in the organization gets. And let's face it, I mean, if you're not higher up on the hierarchy, then your bonus and your salary is pretty much determined to say, listen, you're bound to get, if we may call it, peanuts. So, yes, being in that position, I would say let's use the word exploited, but just very vaguely and not in depth to say that we're naming and shaming any businesses or organizations out there. Then, if we look at the benefits of being a gig worker itself, your productivity basically equals your salary. So, if you work hard and you put in the extra hours and you're working in your overtime and so forth, you're going to come home with much more. And it could be that you get paid weekly, could get fortnightly or monthly, whatever your contract has stipulated. So, you're actually left with quite a chunk of change if you actually add up all those hours. And also, you have no ties to the company. So if the company is liquidated, or if the company goes under business rescue, or whatever the case may be, you have no ties to the company. You have signed your contract, the company has paid you your money, you move on with your life, you go and find new work elsewhere. So you are not bound to that company. You don't have to work in, you, like, for example, maybe a 30-day notice or 1 calendar month notice before leaving that job. As gig work, you can basically then maybe say, listen, in the contract here, if I find another company that's also willing to take my services, you must know I'm going to dedicate my free time that I don't give to you to the new company, because that will be my side hustle. So at the end of the day, you can basically make extra money for yourself by working for maybe multiple companies and giving them all the productivity during the course of the week. So if you work 3 days for one company and 2 days for another company, that means you are basically fully booked for the week and you have two businesses that are paying you your salary. It's technically like running your own business and servicing multiple clients. So, yes, in actual fact, I think gig work is a good thing. I think that the rise in the gig economy is good. Look, there are pros and cons to the whole gig economy and full time and being full time employed. But nothing is stopping a full time employed individual from starting their side hustle and becoming a gig worker and using their areas of expertise to benefit themselves and their families to actually earn an extra income. So think of it as such that we're not just speaking about an individual who's not working and that can become a gig worker. We're actually looking at the people that are that have full time jobs and can become gig workers at the same time. But at the end of the day, that's basically my take on a gig worker and how the gig economy is rising out there. So yes, please, if you like the videos that we've posted, well, that I've posted this far, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube or hit the like button down below. Leave your comments and suggestions as well. All this feedback is very valuable to the people that actually come in and view the comments, because this is how we get the conversation started. This is how we get the ball rolling in terms of ideas and helping each other as business owners and so forth, to actually see what we can do to better ourselves and get ourselves out there. And if you're a one-man show for your business, perfect opportunity to become a gig worker, start moving on to the next level. But yes, just want to say thank you for tuning into this video, and yes, here's too many more videos to come from BM Project Solutions. Have a great day and see you later. Thank you. Goodbye.